Warmest greetings to all my incredible subscribers and new viewers alike. Hello, fellow enthusiasts. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of Bolesław I the Brave. Bolesław I the Brave, 17 June 1025, less often known as Bolesław the Great, was Duke of Poland from 992 to 1025 and the first King of Poland in 1025. He was also Duke of Bohemia between 1003 and 1004 as Boleslaus IV. A member of the Piast dynasty, Bolesław was a capable monarch and a strong mediator in Central European affairs. He continued to proselytize Western Christianity among his subjects and raised Poland to the rank of a kingdom, thus becoming the first Polish ruler to hold the title of Rex, Latin for king. The son of Mieszko I of Poland by his first wife Dobrawa of Bohemia, Bolesław ruled Lesser Poland already during the final years of Mieszko's reign. When the country became divided in 992, he banished his father's widow, Oda of Haldensleben, purged his half-brothers along with their adherents and successfully reunified Poland by 995. As a devout Christian, Bolesław supported the missionary endeavours of Adalbert of Prague and Bruno of Querfurt. The martyrdom of Adalbert in 997 and Bolesław's successful attempt to ransom the bishop's remains, paying for their weight in gold, consolidated Poland's autonomy from the Holy Roman Empire. At the Congress of Gniezno 11 March 1000, Emperor Otto I permitted the establishment of a Polish church structure with a metropolitan see at Gniezno, independent from the Archbishopric of Magdeburg. Bishoprics were also established in Krakow, Ruchor, and Kołobrzeg, and Bolesław formally repudiated paying tribute to the empire. Following Otto's death in 1002, Bolesław fought a series of wars against Otto's cousin and heir, Henry II, ending in the Peace of Bautzen 1018. In the summer of 1018, in one of his expeditions, Bolesław I captured Kiev, where he installed his son-in-law Świętopokai as ruler. According to legend, Bolesław chipped his blade when striking Kiev's Golden Gate. In honor of this legend, the Szczebik jagged sword would later become the coronation sword of Polish kings. Bolesław is widely considered one of Poland's most accomplished Piast monarchs. He was an able strategist and statesman who transformed Poland into an entity comparable to a hereditary monarchy. Bolesław conducted successful military campaigns to the west, south, and east of his realm, and conquered territories in modern-day Slovakia, Moravia, Red Ruthenia, Meissen, Lusatia, and Bohemia. He established the prince's law and sponsored the construction of churches, monasteries, military forts as well as waterway infrastructure. He also introduced the first Polish monetary unit, the guzina, divided into 240 denarii, and minted his own coinage. As we progress, let's zoom in on early life and examine its role in shaping our overall narrative. Bolesław was born in 966 or 967, the first child of Mieszko I of Poland and his wife, the Bohemian Princess Dobrawa, known in Czech as Dobrawa. His epitaph, which was written in the middle of the emphasis that Bolesław had been born to a faithless father and a true believing mother, suggesting that he was born before his father's baptism. Bolesław was baptized shortly after his birth. He was named after his maternal grandfather, Bolesław I, Duke of Bohemia. Not much is known about Bolesław's childhood. His epitaph recorded that he underwent the traditional hair-cutting ceremony at the age of 7 and a lock of his hair was sent to Rome. The latter act suggests that Mieszko wanted to place his son under the protection of the Holy See. Historian Tadeusz Manteuffel says that Bolesław needed that protection because his father had sent him to the court of Otto I, Holy Roman Emperor, in token of his allegiance to the emperor. However, historian Marek Kazimierz Barski notes that the claim that Bolesław was sent as a hostage to the imperial court is disputed. Bolesław's mother, Dobrawa, died in 977. His widowed father married Oda of Haldensleben, who had already been a nun. Around that time, Bolesław became the ruler of Lesser Poland, though it is not exactly clear in what circumstances. Jerzy Strzelczyk says that Bolesław received Lesser Poland from his father. Tadeusz Manteuffel states that he seized the province from his father with the local lord's support, and Henryk Mieszko writes that his uncle, Bolesław I of Bohemia, granted the region to him. In the upcoming section, we'll be shining a light on accession and consolidation. Mieszko I died on 25 May 992. The contemporaneous Thitmer of Merseburg recorded that Mieszko left his kingdom to be divided among many claimants, but Bolesław unified the country with fox-like cunning and expelled his stepmother and half-brothers from Poland. Two Polish lords, Odilian and Przybyło, who had supported Oda and her sons, were blinded on Bolesław's order. How long it took him to take control of all of Poland is a matter of dispute, but the consensus is within a few years. Bolesław's first coins were issued around 995. One of them bore the inscription Wenceslas, showing that he regarded his mother's uncle Duke Wenceslas I of Bohemia as the patron saint of Poland. Bolesław sent reinforcements to the Holy Roman Empire to fight against the Polobian Slavs in summer 992. Bolesław personally led a Polish army to assist the imperial troops in invading the land of the Adalberts or Veliti in 995. During the campaign, he met the young German monarch, Otto III. Subslav, the head of the Bohemian Slavic dynasty, also participated in the 995 campaign. Taking advantage of Subslav's absence, Bolesław I of Bohemia invaded the Slavniks' domains and had most members of the family murdered. After learning of his kinsman's fate, Subslav settled in Poland. Bolesław gave shelter to him for the sake of Holy Brother, Bishop Adalbert of Prague, according to the latter's hagiographies. Adalbert, known as Wojciech before his consecration, also came to Poland in 996, because Bolesław was quite amicably disposed towards him. Adalbert's hagiographies suggest that the bishop and Bolesław closely cooperated. In early 997, Adalbert left Poland to proselytise among the Prussians, who had been invading the eastern borderlands of Bolesław's realm. However, the pagans murdered him on 23 April 997. Bolesław ransomed Adalbert's remains, paying its weight in gold, and buried it in Gniezno. He sent parts of the martyr bishop's corpse to Emperor Otto II, who had been Adalbert's friend. Welcome to the next segment, where we explore Congress of Gniezno and its aftermath and its significance in our journey. Congress of Gniezno and its aftermath. Emperor Otto II held a synod in Rome where Adalbert was canonized on the emperor's request on 29 June 999. Before 2 December 999, Adalbert's brother, Radim Gaudentius, was consecrated Saint Adalbert's archbishop. Otto II made a pilgrimage to Saint Adalbert's tomb in Gniezno, accompanied by Pope Sylvester I's legate, Robert, in early 1000. Thitmer of Merseburg mentioned that it would be impossible to believe or describe how Bolesław received the emperor and conducted him to Gniezno. A century later, Gallus Anonymus added that Arvelaus and wonderful sights Bolesław set before the emperor when he arrived, the ranks first of the knights in all their variety, and then of the princes, lined up on a spacious plain like choirs, each separate unit set apart by the distinct and varied colours of its apparel, and no garment there was of inferior quality, but of the most precious stuff that might anywhere be found. Bolesław took advantage of the emperor's pilgrimage. After the emperor's visit in Gniezno, Poland started to develop into a sovereign state, in contrast with Bohemia, which remained a vassal state incorporated in the Kingdom of Germany. Thitmer of Merseburg condemned Otto II for making a lord out of a tributary in reference to the relationship between the emperor and Bolesław. Gallus Anonymus emphasized that Otto II declared Bolesław his brother and partner in the Holy Roman Empire, also calling Bolesław a friend and ally of the Roman people. The same chronicler mentioned that Otto II took the imperial diadem from his own head and laid it upon the head of Bolesław in pledge of friendship in Gniezno. Bolesław also received one of the nails from the cross of our Lord with the lance of St. Maurice from the emperor. Gallus Anonymus claimed that Bolesław was gloriously raised to kingship by the emperor through these acts, but the emperor's acts in Gniezno only symbolized that Bolesław received royal prerogatives, including the control of the church in his realm. Radom Gaudentius was installed as the archbishop of the newly established Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Gniezno. At the same time, 3 suffragan bishoprics subordinated to the See of Gniezno's Diocese of Kołobrzeg, Krakow and Ruch were set up. Bolesław had promised that Poland would pay Peter's pence to the Holy See to obtain the Pope's sanction to the establishment of the new archdiocese. Unger, who had been the only prelate in Poland and was opposed to the creation of the Archdiocese of Gniezno, was made Bishop of Poznan, directly subordinated to the Holy See. However, Polish commoners only slowly adopted Christianity. Thitmer of Merseburg recorded that Bolesław forced his subjects with severe punishments to observe fasts and to refrain from adultery. During the time the emperor spent in Poland, Bolesław also showed off his affluence. At the end of the banquets, he ordered the waiters and the cupbearers to gather the gold and silver vessels from all 3 days' curses, that is, the cups and doblets, the bowls and plates and the drinking horns, and he presented them to the emperor as a token of honor. His servants were likewise told to collect the wall hangings and the coverlets, the carpets and tablecloths and napkins and everything that had been provided for their needs and take them to the emperor's quarters, according to Gallus Anonymus. Thitmer of Merseburg recorded that Bolesław presented Otto II with a troop of 300 armoured warriors. Bolesław also gave Saint Adalbert's arm to the emperor. After the meeting, Bolesław escorted Otto II to Magdeburg in Germany, where they celebrated Palm Sunday with great festivity on 25 March 1000. A continuator of the Chronicle of Adalbert is recorded, decades after the events, that Bolesław also accompanied Emperor Otto from Magdeburg to Aachen, where Otto II had Charlemagne's tomb reopened and gave Charlemagne's golden throne to Bolesław. An illustrated gospel, made for Otto II around 1000, depicted 4 women symbolizing Roma, Gallia, Germania and Sclavenia as doing homage to the emperor who sat on his throne. Historian Alexis P. Vlasto writes that Sclavenia referred to Poland, proving that it was regarded as one of the Christian realms subjected to the Holy Roman Empire in accordance with Otto I's idea of renovatio imperii, the renewal of the Roman Empire based on a federal concept. Within that framework, Poland, along with Hungary, was upgraded to an eastern federatus of the Holy Roman Empire, according to historian Jerzy Strzelczyk. Coins struck for Bolesław shortly after his meeting with the emperor bore the inscription Gniezno Civitas, showing that he regarded Gniezno as his capital. The name of Poland was also recorded on the same coins, referring to the prince's Polony. The title princeps was almost exclusively used in Italy around that time, suggesting that it also represented the emperor's idea of the renewal of the Roman Empire. However, Otto's premature death on 23 January 1002 put an end to his ambitious plans. The contemporaneous Bruno of Querfurt stated that nobody lamented the 22-year-old emperor's death with greater grief than Bolesław. In 1000, Bolesław issued a law prohibiting hunting beavers and created an office called Bobrowniczy, whose task was to enforce prince's ordinances. In the upcoming section, we'll be dissecting expansion and exploring its implications in greater detail. Expansion. 3 candidates were competing with each other for the German crown after Otto I's death. One of them, Duke Henry IV of Bavaria, promised the Margraviate of Meissen to Bolesław in exchange for his assistance against Eckhard I, Margrave of Meissen, who was the most powerful contender. However, Eckhard was murdered on 30 April 1002, which enabled Henry of Bavaria to defeat his last opponent, Hermann II, Duke of Swabia. Fearing that Henry I would side with elements in the German church hierarchy which were unfavorable towards Poland, and taking advantage of the chaos that followed Margrave Eckhard's death and Henry of Bavaria's conflict with Henry of Schweinfurt, Bolesław invaded Lusatia and Meissen. He seized Margrave Gero's march as far as the River Elbe, and also Bautzen, Strela and Meissen. At the end of July, he participated at a meeting of the Saxon lords where Henry of Bavaria, who had meanwhile been crowned King of Germany, only confirmed Boleslaw's possession of Lusatia and granted Meissen to Margrave Eckerd's brother, Gunzlin, and Strelita Eckerd's oldest son, Hermann. The relationship between King Henry and Boleslaw became tense after assassins tried to murder Boleslaw in Merseburg because he accused the king of conspiracy against him. In retaliation, he seized and burned Strela and took the inhabitants of the town into captivity. Duke Boleslaus I of Bohemia was dethroned and the Bohemian lords made Vladimir, who had earlier fled to Poland, duke in 1002. The Czech historian Duantík writes that Vladimir seized the Bohemian throne with Boleslaw's assistance. After Vladimir died in 1003, Boleslaw invaded Bohemia and restored Bolesław III, who had many Bohemian noblemen murdered. The Bohemian lords who survived the massacres secretly sent representatives to Boleslaw, asking him to rescue them from fear of the future, according to Thitmer of Merseburg. Boleslaw invaded Bohemia and had Bolesław III blinded. He entered Prague in March 1003 where the Bohemian lords proclaimed him duke. King Henry sent his envoys to Prague, demanding that Boleslaw take an oath of loyalty and pay tribute to him, but Boleslaw refused to obey. He also allied himself with the king's opponents, including Henry of Schweinfurt, to whom he sent reinforcements. King Henry defeated Henry of Schweinfurt, forcing him to flee to Bohemia in August 1003. Boleslaw invaded the Margraviate of Meissen, but Margrave Gunzlin refused to surrender his capital. It is also likely that Polish forces took control of Moravia and the northern parts of the Kingdom of Hungary, present-day mostly Slovakia, in 1003 as well. The proper conquest date of the Hungarian territories is 1003 or 1015, and this area stayed a part of Poland until 1018. King Henry allied himself with the pagan Lutich and broke into Lusatia in February 1004, but heavy snows forced him to withdraw. He invaded Bohemia in August 1004, taking the oldest brother of the blinded Bolesław II of Bohemia, Jaromir, with him. The Bohemians rose up in open rebellion and murdered the Polish garrisons in the major towns. Boleslaw left Prague without resistance, and King Henry made Jaromir Duke of Bohemia on 8 September. Boleslaw's ally Subslav died in this campaign. During the next part of the offensive, King Henry retook Meissen, and in 1005, his army advanced as far into Poland as the city of Poznan, where a peace treaty was signed. According to the peace treaty, Boleslaw lost Lusatia and Meissen and likely gave up his claim to the Bohemian throne. Also in 1005, a pagan rebellion in Pomerania overturned Boleslaw's rule and resulted in the destruction of the newly established local bishopric. In 1007, after learning about Boleslaw's efforts to gain allies among Saxon nobles and giving refuge to the deposed Duke of Bohemia, Oldrich, King Henry denounced the Peace of Poznan, which caused Boleslaw's attack on the Archbishopric of Magdeburg as well as the reoccupation of the marches of Lusatia, though he stopped short of retaking Meissen. The German counter-offensive began 3 years later. Previously, Henry was occupied with rebellion in Flanders in 1010, but it was of no significant consequence. In 1012, another ineffective campaign by Archbishop Walfrid of Magdeburg was launched, as he died during that campaign and, consequently, his forces returned home. Later that year, Boleslaw once again invaded Lusatia. Boleslaw's forces pillaged and burned the city of Lübchlbus. In 1013, a peace accord was signed at Merseburg. As part of the treaty, Boleslaw paid homage to King Henry for the March of Lusatia, including the town of Bautzen and Sorbian Meissen as fiefs. A marriage of Boleslaw's son Mieszko with Richeza of Lothringia, daughter of the Count Palatine Ezzo of Lothringia and granddaughter of Emperor Otto II, was also performed. During the brief period of peace on the western frontier that followed, Boleslaw took part in a short campaign in the east, towards the Kievan Rus territories. In 1014, Boleslaw sent his son Mieszko to Bohemia in order to form an alliance with Duke Oldrich against Henry, by then crowned emperor. Oldrich imprisoned Mieszko and turned him over to Henry, who, however, released him in a gesture of goodwill after being pressured by Saxon nobles. Bolesław nonetheless refused to aid the emperor militarily in his Italian expedition. This led to imperial intervention in Poland, and so in 1015 a war erupted once again. The war started out well for the emperor, as he was able to defeat the Polish forces at the Battle of Chorny. Once the imperial forces crossed the river Oder, Bolesław sent a detachment of Moravian knights in a diversionary attack against the eastern march of the empire. Soon after, the imperial army, having suffered a defeat near the Marshes, retreated from Poland without any permanent gains. After this event, Bolesław's forces took the initiative. Margrave Mieszko I of Poland was defeated and killed during a clash with the Polish forces in late 1015. In 1015 and 1017, Bolesław attacked the eastern march and was defeated twice by Henry the Strong and his forces. Later that year, Bolesław's son Mieszko was sent to plunder Meissen. His attempt at conquering the city, however, failed. In 1017, Bolesław defeated Duke Henry V of Bavaria. In that same year, supported by his Slavic allies, Emperor Henry once again invaded Poland, albeit once again to very little effect. He did besiege the cities of Gogh and Niemcze, but was unable to conquer them. The imperial forces once again were forced to retreat, suffering significant losses. Taking advantage of the involvement of Czech troops, Bolesław ordered his son to invade Bohemia, where Mieszko met very little resistance. On 30 January 1018, the Peace of Bautzen was signed. The Polish ruler was able to keep the contested marches of Lusatia and Sorbian Meissen not as fiefs, but as a part of Polish territory, and also received military aid in his expedition against Rus. Also, Bolesław, then a widower, strengthened his dynastic bonds with the German nobility through his marriage with Oda, daughter of Margrave Echard I of Meissen. The wedding took place 4 days later, on 3 February in the castle of Cieszyn, also Skiszeny, at the site of either modern Grossitchen or Ostzen. Let's now venture into the realm of war in Kiev 1018 and explore the fascinating intricacies it holds. War in Kiev 1018. Bolesław organized his first expedition east to support his son-in-law Świętopluk I of Kiev in 1013, but the decisive engagements were to take place in 1018 after the Peace of Bautzen was already signed. At the request of Świętopluk I, in what became known as the Kiev expedition of 1018, the Polish Duke sent an expedition to Kievan Rus with an army of Polish warriors, in addition to Thitwa's reported 1,000 Pekinese, 300 German knights, and 500 Hungarian mercenaries. After collecting his forces during June, Bolesław led his troops to the border in July, and on 23 July at the banks of the Bug River, near Woły, he defeated the forces of Yaroslav the Wise, Prince of Kiev, in what became known as the Battle of the River Bug. All primary sources agree that the Polish prince was victorious in battle. Yaroslav retreated north to Novgorod, opening the road to Kiev. The city, which suffered from fires caused by the Pekineg siege, surrendered upon seeing the main Polish force on 14 August. The entering army, led by Bolesław, was ceremonially welcomed by the local archbishop and the family of Vladimir I of Kiev. According to popular legend, Bolesław notched his sword beak hitting the Golden Gate of Kiev. Although Świętopluk lost the throne soon afterwards and lost his life the following year, during this campaign Poland re-annexed the Red Strongholds, later called Red Rodinia, lost by Bolesław's father in 981. In the following section, we'll be immersing ourselves in the captivating world of last years. Last years. Historians dispute the exact date of Bolesław's coronation. The year 1025 is most widely accepted by scholars, though the year 1000 is also likely. According to an epitaph, the crowning took place when Otto bestowed upon Bolesław royal regalia at the Congress of Gniezno. However, independent German sources confirmed that after Henry I's death in 1024, Bolesław took advantage of the interregnum in Germany and crowned himself king in 1025. It is generally assumed that the coronation took place on Easter Sunday 27 March 1025. However, Tadeusz Wojciechowski believes that the coronation took place prior to that, on 24 December 1024. The basis for this assertion is that the coronations of kings were usually held during religious festivities. The exact place of the coronation is also highly debated, with the cathedrals of Gniezno or Poznan being the most probable locations. Poland was thereafter raised to the rank of a kingdom before its neighbour, Bohemia. Wipo of Burgundy in his chronicle describes the event. It is widely believed that Bolesław had to receive permission for his coronation from the newly elected Pope John XIX. John was known to be corrupt, and it is likely that consent was or may have been obtained through bribes. However, Rome also hoped for a potential alliance to defend itself from Byzantine Emperor Basil II, who launched a military expedition to recover the island of Sicily and could subsequently threaten the Papal States from the south. Stanisław Kosciuszki put forward the theory that the coronation had the tacit consent of Conrad II and that the Pope only confirmed that fact. That is corroborated by Conrad's confirmation of the royal title to Mieszko II, his agreement with the Counts of Tusculum and the papal interactions with Conrad and Bolesław. In the following section, we'll be immersing ourselves in the captivating world of death and burial. According to Cosmas of Prague, Bolesław I died shortly after his coronation on 17 June 1025. Already in advanced age for the time, the true cause of death is unknown and remains a matter of speculation. Chronicler Jan Długosz and followed by modern historians and archaeologists writes that Bolesław was laid to rest at the Archcathedral Basilica of St. Peter and St. Paul in Poznan. In the 14th century, Casimir I the Great reportedly ordered the construction of a new, presumably Gothic, sarcophagus to which he transferred Bolesław's remains. The medieval sarcophagus was partially damaged on 30 September 1772 during a fire, and completely destroyed in 1790 due to the collapse of the southern tower. Bolesław's remains were subsequently excavated from the rubble and moved to the cathedral's chapter house. 3 bone fragments were donated to Tadeusz Czaki in 1801, at his request. Czaki, a notable Polish historian, pedagogue, and numismatist, placed one of the bone fragments in his ancestral mausoleum in Porek, now Pawlica in the Volhynia region. The other 2 were given to Princess Isabella Fleming-Czartoryska, who placed them in her recently founded Czartoryski Museum in Puławy. After many historical twists, the burial place of Bolesław I ultimately remained at Poznan Cathedral, in the Golden Chapel. The content of his epitaph is known to historians. It is Bolesław's epitaph, which, in part, came from the original tombstone. That is one of the first sources dated to the period immediately after Bolesław's death, probably during the reign of Mieszko II, that gave the king his widely known nickname of Brave Polish Krubry. Later, Gallus Anonymus, in chapter 6 of his, named the Polish ruler as Bolesławski Disputor Gloriusus su Krubry. Moving on to the next segment, we have family. The contemporaneous Thitmer of Merseburg recorded Bolesław's marriages, also mentioning his children. Bolesław's first wife was a daughter of Richtag, Margrave of Meissen. Historian Manteuffel says that the marriage was arranged in the early years by Mieszko I, who wanted to strengthen his links with the Saxon lords and to enable his son to succeed Richtag in Meissen. Bolesław later sent her away, according to Thitmer's Chroniken. Historian Marek Kazimierz Barski writes that Bolesław repudiated his first wife after her father's death in 985, which left the marriage without any political value. Bolesław took a Hungarian woman as his second wife. Most historians identify her as a daughter of the Hungarian ruler Géza, but this theory has not been universally accepted. She gave birth to a son, Bezprym, but Bolesław repudiated her. Bolesław's third wife, Emnilda, was a daughter of the venerable lord, Dobrawa. Her father was a West Slavic or Lekitic prince, either a local ruler from present-day Brandenburg who was closely related to the imperial Lidolfing dynasty, or the last independent prince of the Vistulans, before their incorporation into Poland. Wyszewski dates the marriage of Bolesław and Emnilda to 988. Emnilda exerted a beneficial influence on Bolesław, reforming her husband's unstable character, according to Thitmer of Merseburg's report. Bolesław's and Emnilda's oldest unnamed daughter was an abbess of an unidentified abbey. Their second daughter Rigelinda, who was born in 989, was given in marriage to Hermann I, Margrave of Meissen in 1002 or 1003. Mieszko I Lambert, who was born in 990, was Boleslaus' favourite son and successor. The name of Boleslaus and Emilda's third daughter, who was born in 995, is unknown. She married Świętopołk I of Kiev between 1005 and 1012. Boleslaus' youngest son, Otto, was born in 1000. Boleslaus' fourth marriage, from 1018 until his death, was to Oda, daughter of Margrave Echard I of Meissen. They had a daughter, Matilda, betrothed or married on 18 May 1035 to Otto of Schweinfurt. Preslava, a daughter of Vladimir the Great and Rodnida, whom, along with her sister Mstislava, he had taken from Kiev in 1018, was his concubine. Marriages and issue. O'Donnelda, daughter of Rikdig, unknown Hungarian woman sometimes identified as Judith of Hungary. 1. Bezbrimsky became Duke of Poland. Emilda, daughter of Dobrawa. 1. Unknown abbess of an unidentified abbey. 2. Rigelinda c. 989-21 March aft. 1014, married Hermann I, Margrave of Meissen, becoming Margravine of Meissen. 3. Mieszko I Lambert c. 990 May 1034, became king and subsequent to his dethronement, regained power as Duke of Poland. 4. Unknown daughter, married Grand Prince Świętopołk I of Kiev and became Grand Princess of Kiev. 5. Otto Bolesław c. Oda of Meissen. 1. Matilda c. betrothed to Otto of Schweinfurt, but the marriage was rejected. As we enter this new chapter, let's navigate the complexities of Gallery and unravel its multifaceted nature. Fallback Serially Cabriavic Portrait of Bolesław I the Brave by Marcello Beccherelli, c. 1775. Bolesław I Cabriok Boleslaus I of Poland, a drawing by Jan Matejko, c. 1890. File Boleslaus I of Poland ok Boleslaus I the Brave by Alexander Lesafakowinok Boleslaus on a postage stamp, 1938. As we transition, let's shed light on primary sources and its relevance to our ongoing exploration. Life of the Five Brethren by Bruno of Querfurt, translated by Marina Myladin of 2013. In Saints of the Christianization Age of Central Europe 10th-11th centuries, edited by Baklanice, translated by Christian Kappa and Marina Myladinov, with an introductory essay by Ian Wood. Central European University Press. Life of Saint Adalbert, Bishop of Prague and Martyr, translated by Christian Kappa 2013. In Saints of the Christianization Age of Central Europe 10th-11th centuries, edited by Baklanice, translated by Christian Kappa and Marina Myladinov, with an introductory essay by Ian Wood. Central European University Press. Ottonian, Germany, The Chroniken of Thitmer of Merseburg, translated and annotated by David A. Warner 2001. Manchester University Press. The Deeds of Comrade I. Iwaiko 2000. In Imperial Lives and Letters of the 11th Century, translated by Theodor East. Mommsen and Carl Fahrenheit. Morrison, with a historical introduction and new suggested readings by Carl Fahrenheit. Morrison, edited by Robert L. Benson. Columbia University Press. The Deeds of the Princes of the Poles, translated and annotated by Paul W. Knoll and Frank Shaw, with a preface by Thomas North. Bisson 2003. CEU Press. Remember, knowledge is power. Keep learning, growing, and exploring.